How do you know what reality is? How can you prove your own reality? Is there an ultimate reality? A source reality? How would you find out about it? Are you in a dream? How about a dream within a dream? Did someone else dream you up? Did some super being create you? Are you in their dream? Are you merely a transient character in the dream of God, dreamt up to live just one brief life? Or can God make you an immortal dream character? He can never wake up from you. Have you always existed, or did you suddenly come into being one fine day from nothing at all? Are you the product of randomness? Yesterday there was no you. Today there is you. Tomorrow there is no you once more. Is that how it goes? Did you emerge from things that contain no you, but can somehow create you as an illusion, an epiphenomenon, an emergent entity? One day you will submerge. Does that sound right? Are you just a particular organization of material atoms, and when their organization breaks down, that's the end of you? You were never anything more than a peculiar, ephemeral arrangement of lifeless, mindless, purposeless atoms. Is that the true story of you? How will you discover the truth? Nothing is what it seems. You are stuck in the world of phenomena, appearances, representations. But what is reality like in itself? What is the noumenal world, without any appearance, without any representation? What is an appearance of? What is a representation of? What is the noumenon beneath the phenomenon? What is the thing in itself? How can you get to this deeper level, the level where the true you exists? The you in this world is a masked you, a represented you, an appearance of you. You is a phenomenon rather than a noumenon. That's the whole problem right there. You want to know the real you, the true you, not the fake you that you present to the world. The fake is so convincing that many people identify with it and forget they're wearing a mask and there's something behind the mask. Their true self. You're not one of those people. You are deep, and you want to get to the heart of things, the truth of it all. Don't you want to know the secrets of existence that have been hidden all this time? Forever? Don't you want such a shock to the system that you'll never look at reality the same way again? It's time to undergo a revolution of the mind. Many people imagine that the world is made of solid atoms and nothing else. They imagine that these atoms are like tiny marbles, small, hard pellets of matter that clump together with other atoms to form everything around us. This was the view first proposed by the ancient Greek atomists thousands of years ago, and all materialists still hold to this basic picture of reality. Yet it is 100% false. Quantum mechanics has obliterated this worldview. No scientist on Earth can explain what matter is in terms of quantum mechanics. Nobel laureate Richard Feynman said, "I think I can safely say that nobody really understands quantum mechanics." Do not keep saying to yourself, if you can possibly avoid it, but how can it be like that? Because you will get down the drain, into a blind alley from which nobody has escaped. Nobody knows how it can be like that. If you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics. Why didn't Feynman say that about matter? Any scientist who thinks they understand matter doesn't understand matter. Here's what Max Planck, founder of quantum mechanics, said. As a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you as a result of my research about atoms this much. There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter. The whole concept of matter has perished. Yet today's scientists go on pretending that we live in a material world made of solid little things bumping into each other and clinging to each other. This picture is so false, and known to be so false, that scientists can legitimately be called liars for continuing to claim that it's true. Here's the problem for science. The matter hypothesis works pretty well in the everyday world, and scientists have no alternative hypothesis to work with. In particular, they have no immaterial hypothesis. So scientists say something like, we live in an exclusively material universe, but matter is pretty weird, as quantum mechanics shows. Why would anyone be convinced by the concept of weird matter? Is it like dark matter? Matter didn't used to be weird. Why is it weird now? It didn't used to be dark, but it's dark now. Matter used to be solid, persistent, real little lumps that were never weird or dark. How can matter now be weird and still be matter? How can it be dark and still be matter? Aren't the weirdness and darkness signifiers of human ignorance regarding what matter is? What next? Strange matter, magic matter, unmatter. What's the matter with matter? everything. In the philosophy of science, there's a concept called commensurability. Scientific theories are commensurable if scientists can discuss them using a shared nomenclature, allowing direct comparison of different theories in the same terminology. In the 1960s, Thomas Kuhn raised the problem of incommensurability and claimed that many theories in science were actually incommensurate, resulting in tremendous confusion when scientists tried to compare different theories using the same nomenclature, when in fact the nomenclature had radically altered. So, for example, atom was a word invented by the ancient Greeks and had a certain meaning that stayed the same more or less up to the dawn of quantum mechanics. However, a quantum mechanical atom is nothing like an ancient Greek atom. So why is the word atom still being used? Why does that ancient worldview remain? Matter has now morphed into weird matter, but weird matter is nothing like non-weird matter, so why is the word matter still being used? Maybe weird matter is so weird that it has become immaterial, and thus the opposite of matter. The problem is that by continuing to use very old words and concepts, scientists perpetuate old beliefs and concepts that are now redundant and useless, and which make it impossible to think about things properly because they come saddled with historical baggage. Matter, such as scientists once believed in, simply doesn't exist. Yet all scientists go on talking about it as if it did. And thus the real revolution ushered in by quantum mechanics hasn't happened yet, because quantum mechanics is in truth all about immaterialism. Until scientists stop using the word matter, humanity will never move on, and never have the necessary paradigm shift demanded by quantum mechanics. Matter wasn't rendered merely weird by quantum mechanics. It was formally falsified by quantum mechanics, i.e., the concept of matter as something solid, persistent, objectively real, empirical, and in principle observable at all times has been disproved. Science should have devised a new concept to replace matter, one commensurate with the new quantum mechanical worldview, but it refused to do so. And so everyone goes on thinking about reality as if little ancient Greek atoms were real things, and that we are made of them. We're not. We're made of something that science has been unable to define, something hinted at by quantum mechanics, but which scientists refuse to face up to. Science is now afflicted by a catastrophic problem of invalid and incommensurate nomenclature. Why can't science unify its two most successful theories, general relativity and quantum mechanics? It's because these theories are incommensurate. Their respective approaches towards matter, space, and time are totally different and contradictory. It's therefore impossible to unify them. You can unify theories only if they are commensurate. Incredibly, scientists have failed to grasp this simple point and have spent the biggest effort in scientific history trying to add an apple and orange to get two apples or two oranges. Hey guys, give up. It's never going to happen. What science has to do is redefine general relativity and quantum mechanics to make them commensurate theories. But this seems to be beyond their capabilities and beyond their comprehension. The defining experiment associated with quantum mechanics is called the double-slit experiment. Richard Feynman said, "This experiment is a phenomenon which is impossible, absolutely impossible to explain in any classical way, and which has in it the heart of quantum mechanics. In reality, it contains the only mystery. We cannot make the mystery go away by explaining how it works. We will just tell you how it works. In telling you how it works, we will have told you about the basic peculiarities of all quantum mechanics." The experiment was first performed in 1927, and 90 years later, scientists are as baffled by how to explain it as they were then. They have utterly failed to explain the results, and they have equally utterly failed to conclude that the experiment inherently falsifies the concept of matter, of simple little clumps of real objective stuff in space and time. Quantum mechanics necessitated a paradigm shift, but we are still waiting for it to happen because scientists will not abandon the concept of matter, regardless of how false it is known to be, via their own experiments. So, what is the double-slit experiment? Imagine that there are two slits in a barrier, and that you fire marbles through these slits one at a time. Every time the marble strikes the wall at the back, a mark is made. The type of pattern that you get is two bands, corresponding to the two slits in the barrier. But what happens when you use electrons rather than marbles? Something very odd and distinctive happens. A completely different pattern is generated. Instead of two bands, a striped pattern is produced, an interference pattern, and that's associated with waves. This is an earth-shattering result for those who view reality as material. There is no way for matter, as classically conceived, to produce this kind of pattern. It's a strict impossibility. Materialism is falsified right there and then. Any attempt to defend materialism has to start talking about quantum weirdness, but why not get rid of matter entirely rather than qualifying it with the silly and unscientific label of weirdness? It's not reality that's weird. It's materialism that is weird, and it has now been refuted. Only one thing can produce the kind of pattern produced by the double-slit experiment. We've already said it, waves. When a wave passes through the slit, it spreads out on the other side. In the case of two slits, two waves form, and these two waves interact and interfere with each other. In some places, they strengthen each other, and in other places, they cancel each other out. This creates a striped pattern, the exact same interference pattern that we got for the electrons. The reason this pattern doesn't arise for marbles is that large objects are associated with large mass and negligible wavelength, hence seem much less wave-like than objects with small mass and significant wavelength. We determine the so-called de Broglie wavelength via the relationship E equals hmv, where is the de Broglie wavelength? H is Planck's constant, m is the mass, and v is the velocity. Even though everything has a de Broglie wavelength, its value for macroscopic objects is negligible, so we do not observe wave effects for everyday familiar objects. It's not that they are not wave-like, it's that their wave nature is very difficult to detect. Large and small objects are not different qualitatively, but they are certainly different in terms of their quantitative properties. Large objects seem matter-like, and small objects seem wave-like, but matter is really just a wave phenomenon with a tiny wavelength so irrelevant that the characteristic wave interference pattern is suppressed. Everything exists on a continuum. At one end, the microscopic end, everything is extremely wave-like with wave properties emphasized. At the other end, the macroscopic end, everything is extremely particle-like, with particle properties emphasized. But if you broke down any big particle-like thing into its constituent parts, you would reduce it to a myriad of wave entities. Things that look like solid matter are, underneath their appearance, actually vast collections of wave components. Waves, not matter, are the true reality. It's purely because our senses are configured for interacting with macroscopic things, because our bodies belong to the macroscopic world, that we are deluded by the illusion of matter. If we had senses configured for the microscopic world, reality would look entirely different, and no one would have the vaguest idea what matter meant. In fact, virtually everything science believes in results from perceptual errors and biases flowing from the fact that we are macroscopic entities made of microscopic entities, but attuned to the macroscopic and not the microscopic. When it comes to scientists, perceptual errors generate conceptual errors. If they perceive differently, they would conceive differently. Evolution could have supplied us with the means to interact with both the macroscopic and the microscopic simultaneously, but it didn't. It would have been massively complicated and confusing, and much simpler creatures would have eaten the complex creatures for breakfast. When a beast is running towards you to eat you, you don't need to be able to detect microscopic waves in order to survive. In fact, such a talent might well get you killed. You need to be able to respond to the exact macroscopic threat you are facing. Evolution has understandably configured us to have a macroscopic relationship with the macroscopic world. The problem is that true reality belongs to the microscopic domain, and finally, to a domain with no dimensions at all, to immaterial singularities of mind, outside space and time. These autonomous frequency domains are called monads, souls or eternal minds, and they are the eternal, necessary constituents of reality. They are made exclusively of mathematical energy waves, perfectly paired analytic sine and cosine waves. What the double-slit experiment shows is that matter is based on waves, and the way that science perceives reality is totally wrong. Everything around you, from atoms to your body, to planets, to stars and galaxies, is ultimately a wave structure. Things are not solid bits of matter as classically conceived. They're wave patterns of varying frequencies and wavelengths, and these waves aren't made out of anything physical. Reality is not material at all, it's immaterial. The material goes with the concept of particles, modeled in essence as points traveling linearly in a Euclidean linear frame, and the immaterial with the concept of waves, associated with points traveling in a circular frame. But particles are themselves actually waves when broken down. The apparent linear world ultimately reduces to a circular world, linearity to circularity, bad infinity to good infinity, the uncontained to the contained, the non-cyclical to the cyclical. So it's waves, not turtles, all the way down. Science cannot say otherwise, i.e., it cannot legitimately deny that reality is immaterial. Hempel's dilemma explains exactly why. Carl Hempel wrote, I would add that the physicalistic claim that the language of physics can serve as a unitary language of science is inherently obscure. The language of what physics is meant, surely not that of, say, 18th century physics, for it contains terms like caloric fluid, whose use is governed by theoretical assumptions now thought false, nor can the language of contemporary physics claim the role of unitary language, since it will no doubt undergo further changes too. Erez Furta, Mir Hemoa and Orly Schenker wrote, according to the so-called Hempel's dilemma, the thesis of physicalism is either false or empty. Our intention in this paper is not to propose a solution to the dilemma, but rather to argue as follows. To the extent that Hempel's dilemma applies to physicalism, it equally applies to any theory that gives a deep structure and changeable account of our experience or of high-level theories. In particular, we will show that it also applies to mind-body dualistic theories. The scope of Hempel's dilemma turns out to be very wide. It is a special case of a general skeptical argument against changeable deep structure theories in and outside science. This is right. Hempel's theory is applicable to any theory that cannot be 100% stable, certain and absolute. Only ontological mathematics offers total stability, certainty and absoluteness. That's because it is grounded in the eternal, necessary, immutable and perfect. Wikipedia says, physicalism, in at least one rough sense, is the claim that the entire world may be described and explained using the laws of nature. In other words, that all phenomena are natural phenomena. This leaves open the question of what is natural. In physicalism, natural means procedural, causally coherent, or all effects have particular causes regardless of human knowledge, like physics, and interpretation, and it also means ontological reality, and not just a hypothesis or a calculational technique. But one common understanding of the claim is that everything in the world is ultimately explicable in the terms of physics. So far, so uncontroversial, in the sense that scientists would not struggle to agree with this. But now we get to the kicker. Wikipedia says, this is known as reductive physicalism. However, this type of physicalism in its turn leaves open the question of what we are to consider as the proper terms of physics. What are the proper terms of physics? It's not something you often hear being discussed. Wikipedia says, there seem to be two options here, and these options form the horns of Hempel's dilemma, because neither seems satisfactory. On the one hand, we may define the physical as whatever is currently explained by our best physical theories, e.g., quantum mechanics, general relativity. Though many would find this definition unsatisfactory, some would accept that we have at least a general understanding of the physical based on these theories, and can use them to assess what is physical and what is not. And therein lies the rub, as a worked-out explanation of mentality currently lies outside the scope of such theories. So, current physics cannot be right because it has no way to explain mind, and it cannot even reconcile its own top theories. Quantum mechanics and general relativity are not compatible. There is no theory of quantum gravity. Wikipedia says, on the other hand, if we say that some future, ideal physics is what is meant, then the claim is rather empty, for we have no idea of what this means. The ideal physics may even come to define what we think of as mental as part of the physical world. In effect, physicalism by the second account becomes the circular claim that all phenomena are explicable in terms of physics, because physics properly defined is whatever explains all phenomena. Are you starting to see the problem? Current physics can't be right, and who knows what future physics will be like. Current theories are false, since they do not explain everything, and the complete explanation will definitely show them to be false. And future theories are empty, since no one knows what the future theories of physics are. No one saw quantum mechanics coming, and quantum mechanics is nothing like classical materialism. No physicist has an answer to any of this. Most don't even care to bother with the question. Physicists are emphatically not philosophers.